Hello, welcome to Living and Learning. I'm Allison Kinnear. This week we are talking about tantrums, and that part of our work right now is to expect tantrums. That doesn't mean encourage tantrums. That doesn't mean indulge in tantrums. It just means we might all be experiencing more tantrums than ever before. I know for me, uh, both of my children had major emotional meltdowns this week. I know of at least three adults who also either had their own meltdowns or were on the verge of them. And I'm sure you may have a family member, a friend, a colleague, a child, yourself who might also be feeling on the verge of tantrums. And part of this month is focusing on developing tools to help with this new reality that we are currently living in around COVID-19. And one of the tools is just to expect that there will be more tantrums. And by tantrums, what I mean, I don't mean to demean this at all, but what I mean by tantrums are an emotionally overwhelming experience in which you may act more impulsively. You may act perhaps more angrily. Things may come out that you do not necessarily, if you were in a different place, different state of mind, you maybe would feel differently about saying it in that particular way. Basically, when your emotional brain fully takes over the rest of your brain. That's what I mean by tantrum. And this is going to happen more. Whether you, for an acute reason, meaning you lost your job, your income has changed dramatically, you have a loved one who is sick, you have someone who died, whatever, like it could be an acute reason why, right? Like something big and significant is happening. And, or you may have none of those things happening. However, it might be more like death by a thousand paper cuts. There's all these little tiny slices that might be hitting you. And for those who are going through something acute, they're experiencing both. It's like something major is happening, but also there's all these other little limitations, right? You can't go to the grocery store as freely. You're having to change your habits, change your patterns. Everything is needing to be adjusted. And that is going to more than likely put you and other people in an agitated state. So if you find yourself super annoyed with other people, if you find yourself suddenly fixated on one person and getting really upset with them, whether it's a partner, a colleague, somebody who you don't even know, but you see them walking through your neighborhood with someone who they are not related to, that you feel like should be staying at home, whatever the target may be, it is really easy to be having these emotions. And it's really easy for our children too. And I will say, we just had Passover, we just had Easter. These are two significant holidays. And remember, we are all in grief. We're in different stages of grief. And when do we grieve the most? Or if you've ever had someone who you love has died, who has been really intimate in your life, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, they can be really hard days. And both of my children had major, I'm talking over an hour of lots of emotions that took over them on Easter. And at the end of the night, one of the things that they both said was, we thought today was going to be different. We thought we would get to go and do normal things today. And I think it's so indicative of, yes, probably too much sugar as well was involved, but this is going to happen. And so let's talk about prevention. Oh, and Griffin, I love it. Who, me? Yes. I wasn't naming you as one of the people, but we're all there. We're all in the same boat. So let's talk about prevention. So we know that tantrums are going to happen. And let me just say, tantrums do not happen when we are well fed, hydrated, full night of sleep, lots of support, loving and connected and like truly supportive support networks are engaged, like tantrums don't happen. Or if they do, they happen minimally. They happen with a little more control, a little more awareness. Tantrums happen when we are running on fumes. When our energy tanks are at low or at empty, that is when we are going to have a higher tendency to have those emotional overwhelms, those emotional overloads, where because we're overwhelmed, we're possibly looking for control. We might be feeling helpless and hopeless. So we're feeling like all of our resources are drained. We can't see it because our primitive brain has taken over. Our prefrontal cortex is not online and it's not functioning. So it's harder for it to see what the options are. It's harder to problem solve because our emotional brain is taking over. So one of the things that we can do, and we'll talk in the VIP about what to do if you or your child or an adult in your life is having a tantrum, but let's just talk about prevention for a moment. One of the best ways that we can prevent ourselves from getting to that emotional overwhelm, and one of the best ways that we can make sure that our thinking brain, our prefrontal cortex, and our problem solving brain remain sharp and online is to do a whole lot of self-care. This is, and I can see the eyes rolling already, and because I was one of those, and be like, oh, what, self-care. Some of you might be happy about this, but I know for me, when I had to go through this, it was like, oh, can it be anything else? Because self-care, we have a lot of judgment around it. We're like, oh, that's what other people do. Like, oh, so nice for you to be able to do, but I've got a serious job, or I've got lots of things to do. I don't have time for that. I've got these emergencies that I need to solve for. But here's the problem. If we don't take care of our bodies and our brains will not be able to function to do all the work that we really want to do. Oh, my phone is all buzzy. So this is why it's super critical that we take really good care of ourselves at this time. And I'll tell you, there was a quote that I maybe have talked about this before, but there was a quote that I read from the Dalai Lama who was like, I meditate every hour, or I meditate an hour a day, but on my busy days, I meditate for 2 hours. And that used to drive me nuts, because when the world is falling apart and emergencies are happening and you're in a busy time, how do you meditate for 2 hours? How do you do that? And now I'm not suggesting you meditate for 2 hours, but the metaphor there is you got to take even more good care of yourself so you can be sharp. So this is when we find our moments. When you're laying in bed for the first time, instead of ruminating about all the stuff you have to do, allow yourself to stop and just breathe. Feel the relaxation, feel the bed supporting you, feel yourself being supported. This is a way you can support yourself. I was feeling overwhelmed yesterday, and I took our dog for a walk, and I was out there going, okay, should I think about all the things that I have to do? And I was like, oh, wait, no, I am exhausted. And if I go into bedtime routine exhausted, I'm going to be the one having a tantrum. And so it was like, oh, no, I need to nourish my soul in this moment. So I'm going to look at the trees, and I'm going to look at the snow that's still on the mountains, and I'm going to look at the wind blowing across the grass, and I'm going to watch my dog catch the ball. Like I'm going to just allow myself not to go into the laundry list. I need a break from that. Because when I can do that for myself, then I can prevent tantrums, because they're not fun for anyone, not the person having it, not the people witnessing it. So I'm going to pause there. it is not a luxury to engage in self-care. It is a necessity. If you want your brain to be sharp, if you want your problem solving skills to be spot on, then it is super important that you are caring for your body and your brain and your soul so you can do that. It's non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. We will talk in the VIP pass about what to do if you are in the midst of a tantrum, if your child is in the midst of a tantrum, or a colleague or other adult in your life is in the midst of a tantrum. We'll talk about how to handle it, how to support it, how to navigate it successfully, effectively. So that's in the VIP pass. It's $5 a month. $5 a month, you get extra bonus videos, you get discounts, you get lots of other goodies that I provide in there. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the comments below. And I wish you a full week of self-care, incredible self-care to prevent tantrums for yourself and for others, and a beautiful week of living and learning. I will see you all next week.